Hey, Doug, what are we going to do tonight?
The same thing we do every week, Todd. Try to record a podcast.
My brain's a rocket, can't sit still. Thoughts collide, they always spill. A million voices shout my name. Never boring, never tame. ADHD, we're running wild. Focus fading, chaotic child. Turn the volume up, take a ride. In this crazy storm, I can't hide.
All right, welcome everybody to episode 3 of the ADHP with Doug and Todd. It's the attention deficit hyperactive politics, a couple of neurospicy dudes covering politics and pop culture. Here as always with my guest host Todd. How you doing, Todd?
I'm doing good, Doug. Good to be back.
And we're always a little rough on this show. We're still feeling things out. We're still getting our feet wet in the whole podcasting
Growing
world.
pains and all that.
But I think we got one of the best theme songs in the game. I gotta say that much.
Yeah. Thanks to Suno.com.
So this is a big week. We're recording here on Sunday, April 6th, 2025.
Yep.
Just got back, or should I say yesterday, we just got done doing the big hands-off protests. I got to go out for my first ever in-person protest, and I know, Todd, you were doing your thing from the virtual protest.
Yeah, I was watching it online. I was watching on the YouTube channel. I should go ahead and post that to Facebook. I thought I did, but I might just go ahead and just make sure I did. So.
But it was a blast. I brought my wife and my kids, and we had a great time. It was we're out here in Port Orchard, Washington, so a very small town. The protest took place at an intersection, but it was packed. Apparently everyone in town was feeling the anti-Trump fervor, which was kind of surprising for my small little town. I'd say an unofficial count I heard was there was 861 people along one side of the intersection, and it had basically that many people on the other side. So we may have had 1,600, 1,700 people just at our little thing. So
wow.
Yeah, way to go, Port Orchard. I'm super impressed by them. One of the cooler things too was coming back to the intersection a couple hours afterwards. Not a speck of litter anywhere. It was. It was. I don't know if you've heard about Trump rallies. Like, they always leave a huge mess behind it. Not that that's necessarily meaning of anything, but I was just super impressed that you get anywhere near 1,000 people together and you don't leave any trash.
I don't think that's exclusive to them. I think it's anytime there's a large gathering in the city or any place that's not like someone's. Well, actually, even with someone's backyard, there's probably people leave a bunch of shit behind. But I mean, anytime I've ever been to a parade, there's always a little bit of stuff on the road that's been left behind from rappers and things that it got left behind. So.
Yeah, and I know. Apparently, at some point, somebody in the rally got egged because when we were walking through at the start, there was egg on the ground at the feet of where the protesters were. But even that appeared to have been cleaned up.
Oh wow!
It was such a beautiful day yesterday. Oh my God, it was like everybody. It was like nature wanted the protests to happen and go off without a hitch. I know other places around the country had to deal with some inclement weather. Had cousins in Colorado dealing with the snow, and they still went out there and showed force. But it was being my first protest. Like, I was really jacked up afterwards. It was like kind of going to a sporting event.
Oh,
Because
wow.
you get through there, you're waving and smiling at everybody, and people are honking and cheering you on, and it feels good. It really does feel good. Like, I'm ready to go do it again. and I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to.
Yeah. It looks like I did post it to the Facebook page. So if people want to check it out, go to facebook.com/stream.adhd.rocks, and you can find the video there. And I'll put it on our blue sky as well.
And if you're watching on YouTube right now, you're seeing the slideshow of the various. Some of them my photos from our little gathering, but the rest of them are just photos from around the country. so you can see for yourself how big this turnout was. I've heard estimates. Well, Saturday night I was hearing estimates in the 3.5 million area. By
Yeah,
this
it
morning,
was a lot of people.
yeah, by this morning they're saying 5 million across the country once they added all the West Coast people in, and that's from 600,000 registered. So if you were looking up to where to go do your local protest, you could register for it in advance. I registered for mine, and then I brought 3 extra people. So like in my own little group, we were 4 times the registered amount. So right now it's looking like we may have been 8 or 9 times the registered amount of
Oh wow.
nationally people. So that's incredible, and and we got to keep it up. One of the images you're going to see on the slideshow if you're watching on YouTube is some advice from supposedly it's attributed to the daughter of MLK and Coretta Scott King, um, but basically we have to keep coming out. We need to make we need to make 3.5% or better of the population a part of this movement, and that's really all it takes to have a meaningful movement. And the numbers that I'm citing don't even include, there were unregistered protests too. I heard there's one in Federal Way that wasn't counted at all, but that was a whole city that showed up for their protest. And I didn't see any counter protests. There were a couple people driving by that flipped us off. One person had a Trump flag and started yelling at protesters, but there wasn't any kind of meaningful like people showing up with their own signs trying to
Right.
crowd us out or anything like that.
Have you seen the video of the guy who like came down there to counter protest and he got punched in the face because he got up in someone else's face? And
No,
be-
where was this at?
and because he got punched in the face, he went back to his car and grabbed a what looks like an AK. So
Oh, jeez.
I mean, he
Trying
wasn't.
to pull a Kyle Rittenhouse, huh?
Well, the thing is, he was holding it like you're holding like a guitar case. He wasn't holding it by the handle. He was holding it by the barrel and carrying it around. I'm like, okay, at least he's not being threatening with it, other than the fact that he's holding a gun. I
Well,
mean,
he's standing around doing the "I wish a motherfucker would" type of thing, like
yeah, I think that's probably what he was doing.
waiting for an excuse to pull the trigger.
Let
Like,
me see if I can find out where that was, because it came across both my Instagram and my Twitter, or not my Twitter, my TikTok feed. So let's see here.
and while Todd's looking that up, I did want to say that one of the things that has to happen now that we had this amazingly this turnout that beat expectations is now we got to nurture this energy. We got to do something with it. We can't. The Democrats can't just go, "Oh, good, that's there. Let's wait for the midterms and they're going to show up." Like we need to keep the town halls coming. Democrats are doing town halls in red districts. That needs to keep happening. But we need to support. We turned out to show the Democrats we're here for them if they're going to do something. Now they got to do something, and that's going to be the next big step is how to nurture this energy, not just simply rely on it.
Right.
And you can't, it's one thing to say the right thing, but you can't turn around and then vote to help a billionaire or vote to sell more weapons to Israel and that kind of stuff. It's like we can't kill this momentum by being typical centrists. We clearly, this is a moment that calls for a clear vision of progress, a clear progressive vision.
What the fuck?
You almost got this thing, Todd.
I thought I did. I apparently can't remember how to spell that guy's username. That one always does these kinds of videos. Hold on. Oh, there we go. I just can't spell. Let's see here. Where is it? So basically, oh God, I'm trying to find it. Okay, he posts a lot, so maybe it's buried. I'll find it, and then by the time this comes out, hopefully I'll have seen it again, and I can grab it and post it. So basically, what happens? This guy shows up, he and his wife, and they pull up right up on the edge of the intersection where these people are standing. They're not in the road; they're on the corner, and they come out and they're yelling and pointing fingers and all this other shit. And apparently, he got right up in someone's face and got too close for the other person's comfort, and that person popped him in the face and made his nose bleed. So he went back to his truck and grabbed his pew pew, as they say, and
I started parading that around.
he's like, shaking it and just like, I mean, like I said, he wasn't holding it by the handle, he was holding it by the barrel, so it was just like he wasn't, but he was like, I'm gonna use this kind of attitude, kind of thing. Wish a
Well,
motherfucker
we're
would.
eventually going to do an episode with the opening segment dedicated to the Second Amendment, and this is the kind of thing we're going to want to bring up to analyze because there is a debate over what does keeping and bearing arms really mean. Now, going and grabbing a rifle and doing a display, that's kind of in line with bearing arms, but simply keeping a weapon on you for personal protection, while it's now considered bearing arms since the Heller decision in 2008, that's not the way it was historically understood. But we'll get into that on another day. Um, but I just can't get over how fun it was to protest. Now that's not always the lesson you take away from a protest. Some protests are a lot harder. They didn't gas anybody in our protest this week. They didn't turn the hoses on or anything like that. And
Right.
historically, if you're a fan of American history, or at least a student of it, if not a fan, you know how they've treated protesters in some situations. There were no agents provocateur yesterday setting fire or starting problems to as an excuse for the police to come in, and it went really well, and we just got to keep it up. I mean, that's my message is to keep up the be visible, be out there, be seen, and then like we said last week, we're going to say this every week: call your congressman, call your senator, tell them what you want to see, tell them the actions you want taken, because this is what we have to do right now. Is we have to be heard, we have to be seen, we have to let people know that this is not normal, this is not okay, and as long as they believe we're out here and we're going to support them, then then the right people in office tend to do the right thing, right? If they feel like there's backup to do the right thing, then they'll do it. It's when they think that we're not going to support them, when we're just going to skip the election, when we're just going to skip calls, when we're just going to skip protests, that they're like, well, why would I go out on a limb if I'm not going to be supported on it? So we got to make sure we have strong limbs for the Democrats to do the right thing and have some backbone, because otherwise they're just going to fall in line with whatever their corporate donors are saying.
Right.
And speaking of corporate donors, we got the last story of the week, or one of the last ones we'll get to there. But that's my big thing for this week is the hands off protests were a big success, a massive success, and we gotta, I'm proud of everybody who went out there, and I'm proud of all the people that drove through honking their horns and giving us thumbs up. There were so many people that were on board with it. I was just
Why is
blown
everybody
away,
putting up
completely blown away, just in my little small town. And I've seen the images from around the country where they just flooded Portland, they flooded Olympia and Washington, they flooded Seattle, they flooded DC, Boston, New York. New York had, it looked like a Batman movie with Bane driving people through the streets. Just like the streets were completely full of people. They had to shut their roads down in New York. It was beautiful, and I just hope we can harness this energy into something positive.
Okay, I think I found the video.
All right, are we going to hear it?
Yeah, hold on. It's confrontation with man with gun in Indiana at Indiana Trump protest. So basically, here, let me scroll it back. I don't know. Did you hear any of what started when I first loaded this up?
I haven't heard anything but what you've been saying.
Okay. Hold on. I think I need. Let's see here. Okay. Got nothing now. What the hell? Got nothing. Now that I want it to actually play to have sound, it doesn't want to do sound. Okay. Well, shit. Let me see if I can pull it up in as a screen share.
Well, I'm seeing it at least.
Okay. I'm not getting any sound from it though, which is really weird. You can see that guy got headbutted though, right?
Yeah, I saw the headbutt. So who's who in this?
Oh, here we go. Here's sound. So the guy in the gray hoodie holding the gun is the one who pulled up in his pickup truck, started arguing with people. The guy in the red and black beanie cap, hoodie looks like he's wearing. He got, oh, you can see right here. He headbutted him.
So you could see they were getting face to face. The other guy got up in his circle and and then they just started going face to face at each other. And then when he does get headbutted, it looked like the guy in the black sweatshirt headbutts the guy in the gray sweatshirt, and then the guy in the gray sweatshirt retreats to his truck to grab the rifle, what appears to be a rifle.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's probably the most intense thing I've heard or seen coming out of these protests. Everything else seems to have been perfectly peaceful. But of course, it's somebody showing up with the intent to cause trouble because they're.
And I just realized the people watching on YouTube did not see anything because the screen share was hidden by this slideshow. But they heard what was happening. What I'll do, folks, is I will post that on our Facebook and our Blue Sky, and you can check it out for yourself.
There you go.
So
we'll move on from the protests for now and move on to news of the week. It's been a good week for the let's try this again. It's been a good week for the good guys, but it's been a bad week for the country. So, of course, the week ended with the protests we just talked about. That was a good time for most. And the week started with Cory Booker breaking the longest speech record on the Senate floor, which most significantly for me is he broke Strom Thurmond's record.
Yeah.
And Strom Thurmond was a racist man who set the record in opposition to the Civil Rights Act, essentially. And in a lot of ways, it was futile. It was done because there was nothing else that could be done. And in a lot of ways, Cory Booker's speech was futile because he was doing it because nothing else could be done. But I think there is a poetic justice in the racist record getting overturned by a black man speaking on behalf of losing the civil rights that we had gained the last time the speech was made. So that was, and it felt good to see Booker out there doing it for 25 hours, just standing there and being on topic the entire time. He didn't sit there and read from the phone book or from Wikipedia. He actually was discussing topics that are of concern right now.
He wasn't posted up at the water fountain.
Right. No, he had a lot of great things to say. Of course, apparently he went on to go vote for more arms for Israel after that, which is a whole nother issue that we haven't really gotten into, but we will at the end of this segment a little bit. And again, it's so much lip service, but it really got people going. It had 400 million views on TikTok, which more people than live in America, so obviously that's a worldwide number.
Right.
But it got the week off to a good start. And then right after that, we got some real tangible going to be good for us in the country news when Susan Crawford in Wisconsin won the Supreme Court race, which is the one that Elon Musk had worked his way into, spent $20 million or more trying to get the Republican elected to the state Supreme Court. Because I don't know if you've paid attention much to Wisconsin politics, but it's bonkers there right now. Yeah. So for a while, they had a Republican governor and a Republican state Congress. They lost the governorship, and the Congress immediately passed legislation to cripple the governor's power so that the Democratic governor, when he came in, couldn't do what the Republican governor had done.
Okay.
And then they've also continued to have maybe the most gerrymandered congressional seats in the country. And the Supreme Court has set to turn that over, the state Supreme Court. But this was their play to get the Supreme Court back in the conservative balance and keep the gerrymandered districts. So with this win by Susan Crawford in Wisconsin, what we're gonna see fair maps. They're gonna go to like a nonpartisan commission type thing. That's my understanding. We'll probably cover this more as it develops. But the point is, they're gonna have fair maps, which alone could be enough to upset the GOP's like 2-seat majority in Congress right now. So this really could tip the balance of the country in the midterm elections. It was that important, and it was also a huge slap in the face to Elon Musk, which is a benefit in its own.
Right.
Meanwhile, so those are the parts that were good. That's where the good guys had a good week. But of course, it's been a pretty awful week for the country as a whole because Donald Trump continues his mission to dismantle American government and our economy. And
Yeah.
I can only figure it's because he wants to rebuild us as a Russian-style oligarchy. And he needs to fire as many civil servants as he can. And crushing the economy also gives private entities, venture capital or private equity, I should say,
Right.
more of an opportunity to buy up industry because you tank the stock market, drives everyone's stock price down, and then the people that still have billions of dollars despite that are now well positioned to buy up smaller entities. And then by firing, what I'd say Trump has fired, according to the CNN tracker, Trump has fired at this point over 121,000 federal workers. And so when government can't keep up with its services, they're shutting down the Department of Education, they're shutting down other agencies, ostensibly giving their important jobs to cabinets that are remaining, but they're also firing people from those cabinets, underfunding them, cutting funding from them. And so they won't be able to keep up with the services that they're supposed to be taking on, let alone what they've been doing the whole time.
Yeah.
So what that's going to create is a need for somebody to come in and fill in the service gap, and that's where you bring in an oligarch. That's where you bring in private equity to start or own the services. So instead of having school lunches provided by the government, they'll bring in some sort of private group that sells food to the schools. And now the state schools are going to have to pay money from their state funding to an oligarch for providing lunches or something like that. That's just one example. Or maybe it'll be things like SNAP, or I don't know how you could do SNAP and make money off of it, but maybe things like Cobra and those other Medicaid for kids and all the things that are like insurance that the government helps people get is now just going to be more profit based. Everything's going to become profit motive, and it'll be a race to the bottom because of it.
Okay, now me being Gen X, when you say Cobra, I'm thinking of GI Joes. That's not what you're talking about, right?
No, this is Cobra is I can look it up here just to.
Because
I know
my first thought is Cobra.
Yeah, it's a continuation of health coverage.
Okay.
So it gives workers and their families who lose their health benefits the right to choose to continue group health benefits.
Oh, it's a health insurance, so it's really not that much different from the one from the cartoon. Okay. Okay.
And then, of course, Trump, in addition to firing all these government employees, Trump, of course, had his big Liberation Day tariffs, which, surprise, surprise, they're based totally on fraudulent accounting.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've heard about this, Todd, but did you see how Trump presented the tariffs?
As I understood it, he was saying how the other countries would be paying this extra money on the imports, but as I've been educated by other people online, is that that's not how tariffs work, because tariffs are what the companies who are importing things will pay, and then
Right.
because they are greedy assholes, they do not pay the extra. They push that onto the consumer.
Exactly. So that's not only is he completely misrepresenting how tariffs work, but also the rates in which they determined what tariffs to charge is a fraud.
Yeah.
So he's saying that these countries all charge us these massive tariffs, and he's saying we're only doing half the amount back to them. We're only doing half the tariff rate back that they already charge us. But what he is calling a tariff rate is really just a percentage of the trade deficit. So Vietnam, for example, we buy more stuff from Vietnam than Vietnam buys from America.
Okay.
And he's saying that trade deficit difference is effectively a tariff.
Okay.
And it's nonsense, because how is Vietnam going to buy more? First of all, Vietnam is where a whole bunch of stuff is made, so that's why we buy from them.
Right.
But how is a country of a certain size going to buy more than Americans are going to buy? Right? Like a country with less money and less people, how are they possibly going to buy more than what? Of course, we have trade deficits with people. We have a bunch of people and we have all the money.
Yeah.
And so people online figured this out, that they were calling it a tariff rate, and they were really just manipulating trade deficit numbers and calling that a tariff. And a lot of those differences are because, like in the European Union, they have taxes and stuff that add up, and they would basically have to change their entire tax structure in order to meet the demands of the Trump administration. So it's
I
the whole
saw.
thing is a sham, and I don't know how long. I believe it's just to tank our economy so
Yeah.
that
Probably.
future oligarchs can buy things on the cheap.
I
That's
saw
really what I.
something yesterday that made me kind of chuckle. It's showing these videos of people saying, "Yeah, I bought me a Tesla. You know, I'm supporting our country and companies within our country." And then the person stitches in, it's like, "Yeah, except for one thing. The car you bought, the version of the Tesla you got, is actually made in Asia. So, good luck with that." And so it was like the Model S apparently is made in no, well, not Asia. It's made in China specifically. So, and I'm like, okay,
I mean,
well,
Asia's correct.
I
That's
mean, but I think they said China, so I was thinking, I'm trying to remember what it was, and I couldn't. Uh, but uh, and yeah, this guy was basically putting himself into debt buying this car he could barely afford, um, because he wants to support the United States and companies that originate here. Never mind the fact that what he's buying is actually not made here. It may be made over there, but is assembled here.
and that's what I was going to say. Is a lot of vehicles that are quote unquote American made are American assembled. They assemble them here, and that's part of deals with the unions, is that they still need to be assembled here. But the parts all come from all over the world. So cars are definitely going to get more expensive. We I don't know if you plan to talk about this later, but we know the Nintendo Switch 2 was just announced at
Yes,
a
I actually
400.
just heard about the cost of the two this morning. Yeah, it's quite a bit more.
Yeah, it was going to be 450 MSRP, and that came out like the day before the tariffs, right? So we don't even know
Yeah.
what could happen to it. They say in Canada it might be twice as much. It could be $900 for a Switch 2 in Canada.
I mean, I don't own any modern consoles.
Modern gaming.
I got myself a PC about a year and a half, 2 years ago now, and I bought a pre-built gaming PC, which is the first time I've ever done that. Usually, in the last 20 years, if I had a tower of any kind, excuse me, uh, I built it myself, but I haven't been into the hardware side of computers for a very long time. So I had the money to get myself a decent machine, and that's what I did. I could have saved myself some money and built it myself. I just didn't want to do that. So
Yeah, I've had lots of friends build their own PCs over the year. I'm like, that's nice for you. Just tell me what I should buy, and
I mean,
I want it to work when it shows up.
I mean, the thing is when you build a PC, you save money. Number one, two, you have a better knowledge of how things work, and then when it starts working properly, you know what to fix and what to replace. And which is very true with this computer. It decides randomly. Hopefully, it doesn't. And of course, now that I'm saying this out loud, I'm like wishing I hadn't mentioned it because I don't want to jinx myself. It decides to randomly shut itself off. It just turns off. But it's not warm in here, so I don't think it's going to overheat. That's been like the big thing. I think is what's causing it to shut down. But yeah. So the
It's only fitting that we have very sensitive equipment.
yeah, and I did have a Switch, the first generation Switch. Actually, I shouldn't say the first generation. I had the OLED version, and I had it for like a year. I played with it for like 3 or 4 months, and then I sat and collected dust for a while, and then I started playing with it again. And then when my subscription to like the online thing ended, I realized that I couldn't play half the games I was playing anymore because all the ones that I played required online services, and I'm like, okay, I'm not paying for more online things if I'm not hardly ever using it. So I ended up selling
Yeah,
it.
that's fair enough. Fair enough. Um, but with when it comes to Trump and his escapades here, I know this week like the theme from everybody on both sides, like Fox News is trying to explain it, trying to spin why it's good, but even people on his side are saying like, what's going on? What's happening? This is crazy. And then people on our side are just going like, he's so stupid, or he's so insane, or he's just so vindictive that he doesn't really know what he's doing and he just wants things to hurt. He just wants to hurt people. I don't really follow along to any of those narratives, because from my perspective on Trump, if you've had the understanding that I do of Trump, it makes perfect sense. Everything he's done has always made perfect sense, because I see everything Trump does as being falling under one of three categories. And he's either trying to enrich himself and his cronies, or he's trying to further Putin's global aims, which includes weakening America and its Western alliances, or he's trying to stay out of jail. So,
Yeah.
and people have pointed out that Trump's been pro-tariff since the 80s. He also may have been a Russian asset since the 80s.
Yeah, that's
But
what I've been hearing. He's Russian intelligence. Well, intelligence in regards to he's basically a mole for them. I wouldn't say he's intelligent in any way, shape, or form. So
yeah, I don't know that he's any. I don't know if it's he not an agent, but an asset, and that's the
asset.
sense
That's
where
the
like,
that's the right word. Okay.
yeah, because there's agents where you have, because like the CIA has the same distinction where there's CIA agents and there's CIA assets.
Right. Right. That's
Um,
what
a
I meant.
famous
That's what I meant. Asset.
a famous CIA asset is Felix Sater, where he was being used as an informant, and that got him a certain level of immunity to at which he used to run real estate schemes. And the idea was that he would be informing on the people he's doing these schemes with. But ultimately, he just tried to do them to enrich himself, and he got himself in trouble over it.
Yeah.
He was involved in one of the potential Trump schemes for a Trump Tower in Moscow that never came to fruition. And it's debatable whether Trump was really on board with that, or if Felix Sater was trying to trap him in something while pocketing a bunch of money. But it's possible. But my worst fear actually is that Trump is like this guy, where Trump was given like CIA protection from the 80s in order to spy on Russia, and that's why he's so brazen in everything he's been doing since the 80s, because they can't unveil his status, and he's actually just reporting back to the CIA and getting away with all this crap. Uh,
Right.
but but more than likely, I think it's the other way, right? Because he's doing too much now to further Putin's global agenda. And what I believe happened with Trump is that he is a con man,
Oh yeah.
and he pulled too many cons to the point where American banks, now this is true, American banks will not loan to Donald Trump. At least prior to him becoming president, they wouldn't. I don't know what the situation may be now, but he could not get a loan from an American bank because he pulled too many scams. So he had to start relying on foreign money, particularly like Russian money, potentially Russian mafia money,
Mm.
doing a lot of money laundering programs, which Deutsche Bank appears to have helped him out with. We don't know exactly what's going on there, but Deutsche Bank would give him loans when nobody else in the world would. And and they were trying to, one half of the bank was trying to say that they didn't know what that other half of the bank was doing, and it was all just, oh, we didn't realize what was going on. And Deutsche Bank, of course, got, I think, indicted for money laundering. So I think this is all connected in a way. But what happens is Trump gets himself in debt to Russia, and they also must have some level of compromise. I assume they have some level of compromise on him. We heard stuff in the Steele dossier back in 2016, some of which, anything that from the Steele dossier that has been proven to be true. However, there's lots of stuff in there that's just never been proven one way or the other. But it insinuated that Russia had compromise on Trump.
Okay.
And so I believe through debt to Russia and compromise, he is basically owes his life and well-being to Putin at this point, which is why he does all these things to weaken America and weaken our Western alliances, tries to undermine NATO. Russia didn't get any new tariffs on them in this last round of tariffs. It's just all. If he isn't a Russian asset, what would he be doing differently if he was? Like he's acting completely in congruence with those understandings. So everything he does, he's either enriching himself and his cronies, he's furthering Putin's global aims, or he's just trying to stay out of jail, which really didn't become an issue until he started running for president and put the
Right.
spotlight on himself. And then dipping into some local news here in Washington State. Like we said, we're going to cover some local news here, which we haven't actually done yet. So here we are, episode 3, finally touching on local politics. Basically, our state, Washington State, has a budget shortfall, a pretty big one. And states can't be like the federal government where they get to run a deficit and just hold the debt. States have to balance their budget. So we're trying to find a way to balance our budget. And right now, the state Congress is putting forth budget measures that have a wealth tax as part of it. Now, a wealth tax to me is a great idea. The question is it constitutional? Right now, Governor Bob Ferguson, that's our new governor after 16 wonderful years of Jay Inslee. I happen to like what Inslee did. We got everything started that we should have started 30 years ago, like the one line and light rail. We finally got started on this kind of stuff, and and with Bob Ferguson as his attorney general, I thought the two did a great job. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but those are people that think the government shouldn't really be doing anything other than promoting business. But the Governor Ferguson, says he won't sign a budget that includes a wealth tax. And the thing about our state is we don't have a state income tax. We are a sales tax state. And a sales tax state is the most regressive kind of tax you can have. So how do we balance this budget without a wealth tax and without an income tax? It means you're cutting stuff. So I am relieved to see in this most recent article that we'll link here that Governor Ferguson does say he's potentially open to a small wealth tax as sort of a trial balloon to see if it'll hold up in court. But I have a feeling, based on all his fears of the wealth taxes, his wealthy donors, he's afraid of chasing people like Bill Gates out of the state, is what he's afraid of, I think. And that to me just goes to show you why we need a national wealth tax, so that people can't just move to a different state to avoid it.
Right. I agree with you. I think that, and I think we mentioned something about this last week too, right? But I mentioned that I think it was like the daughter of Roy Disney, which is the younger brother of Walt Disney. She was saying a few years back that that she thinks that people like herself who have insane amounts of money should pay higher taxes on whatever it is that they have to pay taxes on, because they have such larger amounts of money. They should be paying equal amounts into taxes that anybody else is paying. So, you know, I don't know. I just think that, if they shouldn't be paying less taxes because they have more money, is kind of what I'm thinking. So
Yeah, and one of the things that they do, so the state has had suggested ideas like, well, right now they're trying to pass a bill that would allow property tax to go up 300% year to year. and a lot of people are outraged about that. Now, for the middle income, for the middle class homeowner, that is a big deal. But that doesn't mean. But this bill just allows for it to go up. It doesn't set it. It doesn't put it up yet. Now, now you know how government works. If they're allowed to go up to a certain amount, you assume it's going to get there eventually, sooner or later. But I feel like what they're wanting to do is they're wanting to target all the land that Amazon is buying up, and they want to increase property taxes for commercial real estate. Is what I would at least hope that they're going for.
Y-
Um,
Yeah, that
but
makes
we
sense.
got we got to make up the money somehow without cutting services, and we're also having to deal with a loss in federal programs, right? Because Trump's cutting everything. So it's like a double whammy that we're trying to get ourselves out of, and we're trying to do it without an income tax and without a wealth tax. Another tax I heard about is we've for a while now in Washington State we've taxed realized capital gains. So basically, when you sell stock, that the money you make from selling that stock gets taxed.
Oh,
Well, there's a proposal now to tax unrealized gains, and a lot of people in my local politics group are up in arms about that because it's like you don't even have to sell the stock to get taxed. You can be taxed just for owning the stock and it having value. And I gotta believe that the reason they're doing that is because I just found this out, and forgive me if I talked about this last week, but I just found out that billionaires, people like Musk and Jeff Bezos, they don't take a salary. They don't pay themselves an income. What they do is they borrow against the value of their stock. So if you have billions of dollars tied up in your Twitter stock or your Tesla stock, basically this is what people think Elon Musk did with Tesla is he borrowed against his Tesla value, and so they pay themselves with a loan. They have to pay up. They have to pay back interest on the loan, but the interest on the loan is pales in comparison to what
so
to
is that
what
why he's
income
so
tax would be.
depressed that his car company's not doing well?
Exactly. And there's a fear that like if it goes down to a certain point, he could get a margin call and have to produce the money. So that's one of the things that could be in play there. But this is why we want to tax unrealized gains is because if you're borrowing against that stock without selling it and using that to basically pay yourself, you're essentially figuring out a loophole in the tax system. You're not selling your
Yeah,
stock, you're just
yeah,
borrowing against it. And so how do we get a tax revenue based off this loophole you found? And so I think basically billionaires being shady and working the system to their favor is once again requiring us to do more regulation, more taxes. If millionaires didn't always look for an angle, we wouldn't have to always look for a way to close those angles. So
right.
we need, and once again, this falls into government needing to be big enough to do its job. And so you don't want bigger government? Well, quit allowing private citizens to get so big that they can own people and that they can skirt the system.
Yeah.
So I'll be tracking this to see how we close this budget. What are we going to do? Are we going to do a small wealth tax and see if it holds up in court? And then if it does, what happens from there? It's going to be an interesting thing to follow.
And the thing I said about the daughter of Roy Disney, I think Bill Gates actually said something similar. That he's like, I make enough money that I'm okay with paying extra taxes because I want to be able to help my, you know, I want to help the people in that I in my neighborhood, in my state, in my country, you know. And I think that's one of the reasons why he gave so much money, and he has given so much money for a long time to Washington State Special Olympics. I remember when I was in high school and I was doing Special Olympic events, there were so many items that were like, "Oh, where do we get all this stuff from?" Oh, then Microsoft donated it. It was like, really, that's cool. We had like each of the athletes was given like a small igloo cooler, not like the lunch pail size, but the ones a little bit bigger than that, you know. And instead of saying igloo on it, it said Microsoft. But still, it was a nice cooler. I had that thing forever.
Well, and one of the reason corporations do that kind of thing is because it's a tax write-off. Donating these things is a tax write-off, and that's another benefit of high taxes, especially if when it comes like an income tax or a corporate income tax. You can lessen your tax load by doing stuff for your community or by reinvesting in your company. When you have an income tax, it's like, oh, do I want to pay myself up from my profits, or do I want to reinvest my profits in my company? Do I want to pay myself, or do I want to hire more people, or do I want to buy everyone a new computer, or do I want to upgrade our infrastructure? When taxes are low, especially the federal income tax right now being all time low, that's a window for people to pay themselves. Oh, I don't have to reinvest in my company right now. I'll just pay myself
Yeah.
because this is the lowest income taxes have ever been. So I better pay myself as much as I can now before they raise that rate. We have to raise the rate to close the pay window. We
Yeah.
don't it does not do the economy any good, and by the economy in this case I mean the people. It doesn't do us any good to allow billionaires and millionaires to just pay themselves. What That's not how a business helps the community. A
Right.
business helps the community by reinvesting in itself and in the community, which is things you can do to avoid
Absolutely.
taxes
Yeah.
if taxes are high.
Do you think that if Tesla were to kick out Elon Musk, that would allow their stock to go back up?
Oh, if they act like the thing is, as long as he owns it, how is as long as he's a majority shareholder, how do they kick him out is the thing.
Oh yeah, I didn't
And
even think about that. I was just thinking that they could just like, no, he's no longer part of our company. We don't claim him. You know.
yeah, you'd have to find a way to essentially do a hostile takeover,
I mean,
which means you need someone with even more money than him,
stocks
which is
the stock prices have gone down enough that he if you give him enough money, he would probably sell it.
yeah, I don't know what the economics of that decision would be for him because Tesla is such a brand thing for him. He stakes so much of his ego on Tesla
Yeah.
that I don't know what would happen there. But 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 ultimately, high taxes puts upward pressure on wages, and low taxes ends up killing wages.
Yeah.
And as we've cut taxes, as we've embraced trickle down theory, right? I saw the stat this week that 50 years of trickle down economics has turned millionaires into billionaires and the working people into the working poor,
Right.
right? All it's done is increase the gap. It
Yeah.
trickled down. Like, to me, the name trickle down was always like, it's
Sketch.
right in the name. It's only going to trickle down. You can't live off a trickle.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I always thought that sounded sketchy as fuck. So maybe not knows exact words, but I always thought it was kind of like, okay, there's something not right about it.
Yeah, well, the first time I heard the term when I was like a teenager or so, I was like, that must be what like Democrats call it, trickle down economics. But it's actually the freaking Republicans that they embrace it as trickle down. They think they're like, no, it's good. It'll trickle down to you. But just a trickle ain't enough. The value of the worker is far more than what he receives, and the the stolen labor, the stolen value of labor is absurd.
Yeah.
So we'll get to our last story here, and of course, this is I saved the worst for last because we'll move to our palate cleanser after this. But
Yeah. Yeah.
we haven't really we've been focused mostly on America and Washington State here. Um, but one of the big things going on in the world is the continued genocidal actions of Israel against Gaza and Palestinians.
Yeah.
Um, we condemn violence against anybody, but at this point, Israel is doing so much more in terms of a magnitude of killing that it's not even close to considering it a fair fight or an eye for an eye. We're well beyond an eye for an eye. Israel, as far as I can tell, Israel was waiting for an excuse to go all out on Palestinians, and they sat around on a tragedy keg waiting for it to blow, and then when it blew, they were prepared. They already knew what they wanted to do, and they just started going in and killing a lot of innocent civilians.
Yeah.
And most recently, they killed 15 medics in Gaza, these were medics in medical vehicles with their lights and sirens on, going to the scene of an attack to help injured people. And as they came up on, I don't know if it was an Israeli checkpoint or something, but the Israelis opened fire on them and killed 15 of them. One person that was survived was pulled out and handcuffed and beaten with the butt of guns. Um, and Israel's first response was that these were insurgents, and they tried to name an insurgent and his henchmen that they had killed, but none of the names match the people who actually died, and none of the accounts can prove that there was any kind of Hamas insurgent included with these medics. And it's just like when they blow up a hospital or they blew up a refugee camp and they claim that there was Hamas was in the basement. And they do this as if that even if it were true, would it justify it? It's like if a terrorist takes a hostage, is it okay to just shoot the hostage as long as you get the terrorist too?
Yeah.
I mean, is that in terms of your understanding of how this should work? Is that what you think should happen? Is like like say inside a bank robbery and the bank robber grabs a hostage and puts the gun to their head. Do the police just shoot through the hostage and get the bank robber?
Only in the worst 80s action films has that ever happened in my mind. You
And
shot
it's
me! Yeah, but I got him too! You
right,
know?
but I'm not just talking about shoot him through the shoulder to get him in some sort of expert shot. I'm
Right.
talking about you just completely like you shoot an RPG into the hostage to make sure you get them both,
Yeah.
right? Like you don't do that, and let alone a whole hospital full of people just to get somebody in the basement.
This is why you don't recruit people from Call of Duty.
Yeah, no, and that's part of the story is apparently when they were beating on this one survivor from the Gaza medics, another Israeli soldier came over and pulled the two guys off and was like, "These guys are crazy." It's like you're letting the crazy people take action and then you're pulling them off.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
are really trying to be terrorists back at them. They're trying to terrorize them back,
Oh
and
man.
and it's and it yeah it's and this is and again this is my sad thing about Cory Booker is right after he did his 25 hours, apparently he went and voted for more arms for Israel.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean about not spoiling our momentum. We need to nurture progress, not walk it back every other second or every other time we're
Yeah.
mentioned in the press.
Yep, yep.
So that's where we're at for this week. There was a lot to be happy with this week, but it's still not good times. We are still in very interesting times, and I it's not going to be normal again for a while.
Yeah.
So we got to buckle in. We got to bear down. We're going to pay attention to as much as we can. But in the meantime, let's cleanse our palates, don't you think?
Oh yes, I have.
Let's get into some What's
The
Geek
Minecraft
this
movie is
week.
about.
So I saw this video clip today from 3C Films. It was on their Facebook, or excuse me, their TikTok about the new Minecraft movie, and he basically showed video clips of just an unruly like audience. People were throwing things. They were. It was basically it turned into like the Rocky Horror Picture Show, but for Minecraft. And there was a lot of people who were not happy with this. I'm just trying to watch a movie with my kids. Can you sit down and shut up, please? Calm down, bro. That kind of thing. And it was, I mean, this is one of the reasons why I stopped going to movie theaters is because people just don't care when they're in the theater watching a movie. They are on their phones, they're talking, they're being loud, they're not paying attention. I was gonna play the audio from this clip. I think what I'm just gonna do is I'm gonna share the video on social media, and you guys can check it out for yourself. But yeah, it's the movie itself is done really well for its opening weekend. Let me pull this up here. Uh, And the movie
Yeah,
start.
we almost took the kids to it after the protest yesterday, but
It's
I think we were all just too tired.
it's Jason Momoa and Jack Black are the two male leads in the movie. I don't remember the female leads' names. Um, one of which was one of the girls from Orange Is the New Black, and I didn't recognize the other one. But it looks like the Minecraft movie has exceeded expectations at the box office as it's poised to score the biggest opening weekend of the year so far. According to Deadline, estimates have the video game adaptation pegged to cross 135 plus million domestically over its first 3 days. Some believe a Minecraft movie could earn somewhere in the range of 145 to 155 million. If it's able to get that high, it could break the record for biggest opening for a video game adaptation, topping 2023's The Super Mario Brothers movie, which got 146.3 million domestic as it stands right now. The Minecraft movie is going to clear Captain America Brave New World's debut, which is 88.8 million by a considerable margin. And that's what it said on comicbook.com.
Do we know what the budget for a Minecraft movie is?
Let's take a peek here. Pull up IMDb. It should have that kind of shit, right? Let's see.
Because that Mario movie was a huge thing because I think people even in our generation who had Mario in the 80s were like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm going to see it."
Yeah.
But a Minecraft thing is, I mean, it's just Minecraft is such a huge part of kids' lives right now, and it's what they watch when, like, my kids, if they aren't playing Minecraft, they're on YouTube watching other people play Minecraft. It's such a part of their culture, and it has been. Even my nephew, who's 13, 14 years old now, he's been a Minecraft kid since he was 4.
I I uh I don't know if we talked about this or not, but I got sucked into playing Minecraft about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
My little brother, who was like 20 something at the time that the game started, he's like, "Dude, you check this game out." I was like, I seen like photos of it, and I saw maybe one or two videos on YouTube, and like, at that time it wasn't as big as it is today. I was like, "Nah, it looks stupid. I'm not gonna watch that, or I'm not gonna play that." And then I got a demo for it on uh, on Xbox 360, and I got hooked. I mean, I plugged it, I installed it. I didn't buy it. I played the demo, and the demo wouldn't allow you to save anything. So I just kept the thing going. I didn't turn off my PlayStation, or excuse me, my Xbox for like 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, it's one of those games where you really have to play it to get it, because you take a one look at like a screenshot or something and you're like, what is this from? Is this like a 1991 PC game? Like, what is this? And and then
Right.
you play it and you realize there's so much creativity to it. It is the most sandboxiest of sandbox games. Yeah, and I like it for my kids because, one, it requires reading, and two, it's just it's so creative. It's If your kid's going to be an architect one day, if he's going to if he's going to be a scientist one day, if it's there are things in there for the kids to do, and
Yeah.
it's so popular that, like, Fortnite created their own version with Lego, and it seems like, and Roblox came on with their own thing, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's it's
Well,
spawned a million knockoffs.
it's
And
what's really funny is, like, people look at it and think it's just a simple stupid game. There's way more to it than what you see on the surface level of it. Um, that's what I experienced anyhow. And it was like, and when I first really got into it, um, it I discovered that there's a thing in the game called of course, as soon as I start talking about it, my brain goes nope. Uh, red dust, I think.
I don't know.
This red stuff in the, and it's basically like it works as like copper wire. So you can use this you can use this to make machines within the game.
And then do the bad guys come and rip it all out to try and sell it for meth?
Uh, I mean, not for meth, but if for example you don't have any kind of walls or barriers to your machine to prevent things to getting in there, things can get broken. So um, there are creatures in the game called creepers, and they look like a pile of leaves with eyes and like little feet at the bottom. And what happens when it get too close
You're
is,
being too kind. These are the things that look like a big green penis, right?
y- yeah, I was trying to not be like they
My son has a stuffed one, and it was his favorite stuffy for a while, and it looks just like a big green phallus
it
with four
so
balls.
the origins of the creeper is that it was a programming error when they were trying to design the pig. Um, so they just gave it a different color skin. It's a deformed pig is what it is.
I don't see pig in it at all.
You,
That's
well, you look at the feet and you just figure the head and the body got weird, and that's kind of where it went from being a pig to
fair enough.
so.
Okay.
Um, but so they decided to make it a kind of a weird mob where that when it gets close to you, it's like a proximity mine. When it gets within a block or two of you, it will explode and destroy everything in like a 10 block radius. When I mean 10 blocks, I mean actual blocks, not city blocks, not
Minecraft blocks.
Minecraft
Yes.
blocks. Yes.
Yeah, everything in Minecraft is measured. The distance is always measured in blocks. Like you can jump so many blocks given a certain
Yeah.
ability or
Uh,
that kind of thing. Yeah.
and then still trying to find the. I thought it would be on IMDb, the information you were looking for. Now I forgot what you were looking for.
The budget for the Minecraft movie.
Budget. Oh, that's right. There. Official sites, company credits. No.
Yeah, you'd probably have to go to like one of the financial movie websites to see how much it cost. I don't know if they advertise it on IMDb.
I thought they used to have that kind of stuff where it would show like the budget on it on the page. Let's see. Just type in the okay. So according to Google AI, the research results has given me.
The always accurate Google AI.
Well, I mean, it pulls from the results of Google, which is
Yeah, I trusted on this one. I
yeah.
trusted on this particular fact.
It says 150 million with an M.
Okay. Well, so it's already going to have made that back in the first weekend you were telling us. Then.
Yeah, just a little bit over that. Yeah.
Well, that's good for Jack Black.
It's good for everybody involved. Jason Momoa, Jennifer Coolidge is also in it.
Oh.
And it's directed by Napoleon Dynamite director Jared Hess. So
What has he done since Napoleon Dynamite?
he did that one Jack Black movie where he's like a luchador.
Oh, he did Nacho Libre?
Yeah.
Which I think I've discovered an actual wrestler that Nacho Libre must be based on. I saw a short based on this actual Mexican wrestler whose body type is very much Jack Black, but he's doing all this luchador type moves, flying around, tumbling, and it's actually like he's considered one of the like low key, maybe like really great wrestlers that nobody's heard of.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, I've seen a couple things about luchadors, and I think the average luchador is just Jack Black.
But this guy was like same kind of outfit, like the blue shorts and the similar mask. And I know a lot of luchadors have the mask and everything, but this guy, I think if you saw this guy, you'd be like, oh, that has to be who Jack Black was watching when he developed this character.
A basic luchador mask with like standard blue tights shorts. Yeah. No, from what I saw, the average luchador is not they don't look anything like the guys from the WWE. None of them.
No, but they're usually like slider guys, like smaller, agile.
Yeah, they're
like an acrobat.
Like the one luchador who is in the WWE. They're like him. I can't remember his name, but he wears the luchador mask, and he does a lot of the acrobatic stuff. And is not a big dude, but he's also not tiny, but he's very well defined in his physique. And oh god, I don't remember. It's been a long time since I watched wrestling.
El Dandy. That's the guy's name. El Dandy.
Okay, let me Google that real quick.
Yeah, so we'll throw a link. We'll throw a link up to El Dandy, so you can see a couple of his highlights. But he's considered an extremely good wrestler from like a technical standpoint, but you would never have heard of him unless you follow luchador. unless you're like a totally old school wrestling kind of guy.
Yeah. Let's see. Just trying to find.
Speaking of shout outs, we haven't done a shout out yet this week. I want to shout out the OSW review. That's Old School Wrestling Podcast. It's on YouTube. OSW review. They're three Irish guys who talk about they started out 15 years ago covering the Hulk Hogan era, and that progressed into the modern era, and they jump around doing TNA wrestling, some AEW stuff, mostly WWF and WCW old school stuff, but it's some of the best YouTube on YouTube as far as I'm concerned. It even though I haven't watched wrestling since I was a kid, I don't ever miss an episode of OSW review.
Okay, I think I'm starting to see photos of this dude now. Yeah, I can see how he's. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much how all the luchador wrestlers I've seen have all looked, and he actually was part of WWF at one point, or WCW rather.
Yeah, he was briefly in WCW. Yeah.
There's a lot of crossover between the various wrestling companies, depending on how popular you are.
All right. Well, do we want to head to our next story?
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm sitting there going down the rabbit hole over on YouTube, looking at all these photos. The other thing I wanted to talk about is we got a sneak peek, a clip from the new Superman movie coming out later this year. I think in the next couple months, the first of the DCU movies. And in the clip, we see that Superman hits the ground really hard, like he got knocked the fuck out. Okay, and he kind of like comes to, and then he just kind of. You've seen those fights where the guy's all hits the ground, he's all bloody, and he's just kind of sitting there going, because he's in a lot of pain.
What was that sound again?
You know that sound of your soul escaping your body after you got your ass beat.
I just wanted to make you do it again.
I know. I'm not doing it a second time. Just rewind and increase the volume. So he eventually manages to eke out a whistle, which actually is, with the amount of pain he's in, I'm surprised he's able to whistle this perfectly. And it sounds like, what you'd imagine a dog whistle would sound like if you could hear it, right? So then Crypto shows up, and as a dog would when he sees his owner, he's like, "Oh my God, you're here! Where have you been?" Blah blah blah. He's not talking, mind you. That's just his attitude and his demeanor, and he's
right. You pick up that vibe.
He's bouncing all over, Kal-El as he's like bloodied and like going, "Ouch! Stop! Please stop! Crypto, stop!" And eventually the dog stops and realizes that his buddy is hurt and he needs help. And he's like, "Home, Crypto." Dog's like, "What?" I mean, he like, slowly reaches down and grabs his cape and kind of like slowly brings it up above his head and hands it to the dog. "Home, Crypto." Crypto grabs his cape and drags him across. I think it's Antarctica, wherever his Fortress of Solitude is.
Yeah, where is that supposed to be?
I think
Probably
it's supposed
Antarctica.
to be the Antarctic. It's where there's a lot of snow and ice and mountains. But that's big. I mean, it's like a 2-minute long clip, right? So, and you see all this, and he gets brought into the Fortress of Solitude, and then you hear.
So that first part you were talking about, we kind of saw that in the sizzle reel from like Super Bowl, right?
Yeah. But it's a much longer clip.
But now we actually see in the Fortress of Solitude this time?
Inside the Fortress of Solitude, we see his androids come in and go, "Oh my God, sir, are you okay?" And they all pick him up. Apparently, those voices from those androids are people of note, and I haven't looked it up because I, didn't think of that until just now. And
I think one's Danny Tudyk's.
Oh,
Danny
Alan
Tudyk.
Tudyk?
Yeah, what did I call him? Danny?
Danny.
Yeah, it's Danny now. Yeah, Alan Tudyk.
Danny's his evil twin. But okay, that's cool. I mean, Alan Tudyk is an amazing actor. He was one of the people that was at Emerald City this year that I didn't get to see because the lines were entirely too long. And I would have said something along the lines of love your voice work, and Resident Alien is fucking fire, dude. It's an amazing show.
You know, he's the voice of Hey Hey in Moana,
I do, yeah.
and all he does is make chicken noises. It's great.
Yeah. He's like
It's like when George Clooney was the voice of the dog in South Park,
right, yeah.
and all he did was just
don't
bark.
don't be gay, Sparky. Yeah. Um, well, it's funny. I saw an interview with Alan, and he's like, "Yeah, I went to Juilliard, and I'm most famous for playing a chicken."
Of course, with our group, I think he might be most famous for being a pilot on Firefly.
I mean, there are a lot of people within my friend group that do enjoy that show and like him for that role. I am not one
Are
of
you
them.
not a Firefly guy?
I am absolutely not a Firefly guy. I
I
am.
love it. I love it because yeah, all my friends are so in love with Firefly, and I could totally take it or leave it.
Oh man, so it literally took me 6 separate tries to watch that series. I mean, I watched it online. This is one of those. It was well after it was off air. I saw the movie. I didn't hate the movie, but I wasn't like, oh my god, this is amazing. You need to see this movie. It was okay. It was good. It was entertaining. It was kind of sad because one of the characters dies, but I finally was able to watch all, was it 12 or 13 episodes, whatever it is. I had to skip the first four because every time I started watching the first 4 episodes, I would fall asleep every single time.
Yeah, I am not a big. I'd rather watch as far as Joss Whedon stuff goes. Give me Doctor Horrible sing along blog any day of the week over
I mean,
Firefly.
you can't go wrong with Neil Patrick Harris. So
And I like Nathan Fillion, but
I
I don't care about Firefly.
yeah, I'm with you. Nathan Fillion, he's another person who was at Emerald City this year, and I wanted to see him again. Line was out the door and down the street. Um, I love the rookie. I thought Castle was fantastic. I reluctantly started watching Castle because like I don't want to watch that guy. He was on that stupid show with the the space cowboys and
Yeah, he was the
and the
dumb space
Chinese
cowboy.
and the Chinese words like woven into English words. I thought that was weird. I don't hate Chinese speaking people. I just think it's weird to just randomly throw in Chinese words into a conversation. That might be the autism, but just it's weird to
Yeah, I don't
me.
know if they were trying to make a point that like because of the point in the future it was like China was such a significant influence
Yeah, I
that
think that's what it was supposed to be, and it's like it just to me just was just randomly throwing in a word I didn't know what it was, and like it didn't. Okay, but I like all the people that are in the show outside of the show,
yeah, exactly.
with the exception of Baldwin. That guy can go die. Never mind. I'm not. You want to hear something funny? And I think I mentioned this before with you. He blocked me on Twitter. He was the first celebrity who ever, that actually he's the only celebrity who's blocked me on Twitter. I haven't been blocked by anybody else that is a famous person. And it was because he was going on a rant about how I think um, some congressperson or some person in local government in Arizona was had done a speech in Spanish, and he was like, "In America, we speak English." And I go, "Oh wow, he's not he doesn't just play a meathead on TV. He is a meathead."
Method actor.
I mean, he's just not really method acting though. I mean,
No, it's not. It's not.
it's absolutely. I mean, so if you've never watched Chuck, and it's a great show regardless of the lead actors being Trumpers. Um,
Yeah, I watched like the first season of Chuck, and
oh,
then I don't really watch network television so much anymore. Um,
it was a great show. I really liked it, and it's since then it's become common knowledge that the that uh, oh, what is his name? The
was
guy.
it Zachary Levi? Is
No,
that
no,
who?
Zachary Levi in the last year has come out as in supporting of RFK and now Trump, but no, the guy who played John Casey, which was played who played um, um, the guy with the knitted hat on Firefly, um, um, Jane
Yeah,
played.
I'm not familiar.
He,
To be honest, I'm not even familiar enough with the character
okay,
names.
so he plays Jane on the Firefly. The guy with the orange knitted hat. He's the muscle. He's the big tall guy who speaks like a Neanderthal. And And so he's also probably known for being in the movie DC Cab in the 80s. Um, he is a Baldwin, but he's not one of the Baldwins. Adam Baldwin is his name. That's what I had to think for.
Okay.
He's not related to Alec or any of the other Baldwins, but he is somewhere in history. They're a distant relative. But he blocked me on Twitter because I call him a meathead, and
Can't have that happening.
No.
Oh God, what a terrible thing to say, Todd.
I mean,
Gosh.
and to be fair, I still kind of like the show. I haven't like completely written off Chuck because him and Zachary Levi are both bootlickers. So,
Fair enough.
but
All right, you got another story for us?
yes.
How we doing on time here?
We are hour and 15 minutes. I had a couple of teaser trailers that are released now. If you haven't seen them, Megan 2, or whatever the name of the actual...
Mithrigan 2.0?
Yeah. Megan 2.0, and with the E being a 3, yeah. It's basically, there's a bootleg android who's using her technology, and they have to reactivate Megan to protect the...
Only Megan can save us now.
Right. So it's basically like Terminator 2. It's like, hey, remember
Yeah,
how you tried to
exactly.
kill me in the last movie? Well,
Now we need you.
somebody else is trying to kill us, so we need your help to save the kid.
We have a more advanced robot. Can you come save us?
Yeah. It's basically, that's what it is. And then I saw a clip. I don't think I saw the whole clip, but the Tron Ares is the next
Ares.
Ares. It looks like Ares, but okay.
That's how you spell the Greek god of war.
Okay. Well, I mean, considering it's D-Res was the name of one of the songs off the second album on the second movie, I just figured it was a reference to like.
This is the alpha resolution.
Yeah, but in the trailer, the teaser trailer for that, light cycles come off the grid and come into the real world, and they're going across a long bridge, and they're being chased by cops, and then they ignite their little wall things that they do, and they split a cop car in half. So that was
the light bike type things.
Yeah, and it was really slick. You definitely gotta have to watch that, dude.
No, we need to do we should do like a meetup. Watch all the Tron movie thing, because I'm totally interested in Tron. I've loved playing light cycle video games, but I've never sat down and watched. Like, I tried to watch the original one once, but my wife kept falling asleep, so we turned it off.
Well,
but I still haven't seen the new ones yet.
The new one is gonna be like Firefly. It will put you to sleep in the first 30 minutes. I liked what they wanted to do with that movie, but
You're talking about the first remake from a few years ago?
The second movie that came out like 10 years ago, yeah. 15 years ago now.
Has it been that long?
It has.
Gosh.
It was 20.
And now I know what my parents...
It was like
meant when
2010 when that movie came out, dude.
I know. My parents would be like, the other week, and my dad's like referring to something that was like 15 years ago. It's
Right.
Now I get it.
And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is I've been waiting for an update on this for fucking ever, and okay. Ghostbusters news posted yesterday. Since it's announced during Ghostbusters Day in 2022, 3 years ago, they've been closely tracking every update about the upcoming Ghostbusters animated series from Sony Pictures and Netflix. From early development teases to last summer's official green light and confirmation that the show will be aimed at a younger audience, it's clear this project is slowly but surely taking shape. Now, thanks to a new job listing from Sony, we've got another behind-the-scenes update, and while it might be a small one, it's further proof the series will still deep within development. Sony Pictures Animation is currently hiring a CG supervisor for an unannounced CG animated project. While the listing doesn't name the series outright, the studio's recruiting page on X already might have the connection clear posted. It says, we're looking for an experienced FX artist to help define and drive the visual effects language for our upcoming CG animated Ghostbusters series If this is you, please apply now. And so it looks like it might be the same animation style as like the Hotel Transylvania.
Okay.
Um,
My kids are a big fan of that, so I know
I
what you
I
mean
like
there.
those too, and I'm a massive Ghost head, so absolutely looking forward to seeing whatever comes from this. I do know that they are also working on an animated movie, and the way animation works is that they talk about making it, and they have to get the green light, and when the green light happens, that's when they actually start working on it, and then it takes 2 or 3 years minimum after that. So I remember hearing about the Kevin Smith led Masters of the Universe series about 6 years ago, and it
Right,
came
right.
out
And
what
that
two
that
years
came
ago.
out last 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, the first one did, and then the second one came out last year, which was kind of a follow up series. But
And I remember it got a little bit of a backlash for being quote unquote woke,
yeah,
as if
because they made the central character not He Man, and they made it Tila, and they're like,
yeah. I always
what?
didn't, I didn't like He-Man. I always thought that was such a stupid character. And I think that might because before I ever really knew who He-Man was, I knew about the He-Man Woman Haters Club from their Little Rascals.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is meathead stuff. This is like
I
your
mean,
word meathead.
if you,
That's what I think of. I think of He-Man.
right. Well, if you haven't seen the documentary about He Man, I would recommend checking it out, even if you're not a huge fan. And
I do love documentaries.
if you don't want to sit through like a 90-minute He Man documentary, there is a TV docu series on Netflix called The Toys That Made Us, and there's an hour
Oh, I
long.
do like that. Yes.
There was an episode of He Man and how it began as a potential toy line for Conan the Barbarian.
Okay.
and
Yeah,
then
that makes sense.
because they couldn't
I
get
see that.
the rights to Conan the Barbarian, they decided,
They had to make up their own
they had to
show.
make up their own stuff, and then how they got some of the other toys to be part of the toy line was like, what do we have that we have? What do we have uh, the machines to make things for, and can we kind of like absorb it into the He-Man toy line. So Battle Cat was only a thing because they had this mold for this tiger, and because it was too big to be like a normal tiger, they made him He-Man's mount. They just said, "Well, we'll make him an alien tiger. He'll be green and yellow or green and orange, whatever the colors are, and then he will be his steed or whatever." And that's how they got that to work. And then they took some other toys and they kind of like put it in there and repackaged it and whatever else. And
It might be an interesting project for like a future episode or something,
yeah,
but to break down for like 80s and 90s kids shows,
yeah.
what percent of them were like, or how many, whatever, find some examples or a percentage or whatever, but how many of them were original IPs that were designed as a show and then they made toys off of that, and how many of them were the toys first and then they made a show just so they could have the
Well,
toys.
I can tell you 3 shows that were made basically because they had the toys in another country that were brought over to America for an American toy company to try to repackage. Um, Transformers is the first one that I can think of.
Which were they directly, was the GoBots the Japanese version?
No,
Okay.
GoBots was a different company. I don't remember the Japanese company that had GoBots, but Takara Tomy had the toys that became Transformers over in Japan, and they still make Transformers. Whenever you buy like import Transformers, it says Takara Tomy on the box, right where it usually says Hasbro. And they usually cost $20 to $30 more, so because they're imported from Japan.
Sure. And
And
that's gonna go up even more now.
even more, yeah. I'm trying to think of other toys that became. Um, so basically, with Transformers, it was 3 different toy lines that became Transformers over there from
Okay.
Takara, and they were like these were toys that were being made in like late 70s, early 80s, like 82, I think. And then like by 83, somebody had saw them at a toy show in Japan and go, "Ooh, we could bring these to America and we could sell them to a whole new group of kids and we'll make all kinds of money." And yeah, so if you haven't seen that show, I can't recommend it enough. There's episodes for Transformers,
You're talking
He-Man.
about the toys that made us
Yeah, the
again?
toys that made us on Netflix. Transformers, He-Man, G.I. Joe, Barbie, Star Wars, My Little Pony, um,
All the good stuff.
Lego. That was a cool episode, by the way. I did a lot of the stuff I had never even. I had no knowledge of Lego beyond like they make some cool stuff. Um, like the architect Lego stuff wasn't even something they originally designed. It was a fan of Lego started making homemade kits with just loose Legos or Lego,
And that's where they got the idea for
and they
doing
and
actual sets.
he presented the idea to the company and they said, yeah, if you want to design them, we'll make them, you know. And one of the things they said in the first episode, number one, it's Lego. There's no S on the end. It's not plural. It's never plural. And
Except when you're kids and you guys want to go play Legos with your friends.
it's still Lego, but yeah.
But we all said Legos. Is what
Right?
I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah. No, that's why they're saying this is like you guys are incorrectly calling it Legos.
Don't pluralize it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like deer.
Seriously, they were like, it's like we don't talk about Fight Club. They were very insistent on it. And one other thing is like, oh, and we never intended Lego to be used to be made into weapons. So that's why you never saw gray Lego bricks weren't gray forever, for a long, long time. So I think like
Just to inhibit that, you'd have to have a super colorful weapon if you
you'd
wanted
have
to
to
make
have like a brightly colored tank or a jeep or whatever it was you wanted to build. It was a gun or something like it. But what was the other thing? There were so many. Each series has I think 4 episodes. So each episode is a different toy line, and I don't remember the rest of them. But those are the ones that stood out in my mind as cool episodes. And if you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. I think they're maybe 45 minutes to an hour long. They're not bad.
Right on. Well, I think that wraps us up for this week. Todd, if you want to cue up the outro theme,
Alrighty.
let me know when that's ready to go because we're just going to say goodbye here now.
All right. See you guys next week.
Thanks for.
Go ahead. What?
I was going to say thanks for listening. We'll try and do better next week.
We're doing fine, Doug.
Chasing sparks in every lane. Don't try to fix what fuels this flame. ADHD, we're running wild. Focus fading, chaotic child. Turn the volume up, take a ride. In this crazy storm, I can't hide. Call me restless, call me loud. Living life outside the cloud. Fast and messy, that's my deal. This spinning madness feels so real. ADHD, we're running wild. Focus fading, chaotic child. Turn the volume up, take a ride. In this crazy storm, I can't hide.